The face you didn't get to see Mary make just then is because she's about as excited. That's Mary's face for A Haunting in Venice. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. We went last night. I fell asleep for about 15 minutes.
Brett hated the movie. He slept through half of it.
I could have slept too. I really could have. It's just nothing in the theaters is any good. I mean, it's not bad, which is more offensive to me. Yeah. You didn't make me feel strongly about it. You wasted my time, and I'm bored.
If you like really tropey mystery movies where it's like, you go there and it's exactly what you want, like it's like piece by
like
piece
you're not
trope.
gonna be like, to be fair, like we're in a market now where like one of the things that somebody said to me last night, oh crap, we're gonna have
wrong?
to my timer on the Stream Deck has broken, so guys, we're gonna have to wing it on the times here today.
Good.
But that's okay. Let me make sure the other buttons are working. The other buttons are working, so that should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I like that it's kind of a campy film, but it's also one of those where you've seen it a million times. You've seen this movie 10 other times.
Yeah.
It's also like kind of autistically predictable. Like people who like having all the gritty details explained to them. Yeah. I guess that's the point of like a murder mystery drama.
Yeah.
But
the whole point. So,
but also the trailer made it seem a lot more horror than it actually was. It didn't have jump scares, really. It didn't have...
It had sound scares. That was
actual suspense, really.
I will say that there was a point where like I was actually felt one of the things I felt the most let down by was basically the whole movie takes place in this house. And the cinematography felt like it left much to be desired. It's beautifully done. It's Hollywood. It looks great, but it feels like when the house is supposed to be a character in and of itself, it didn't stand out nearly enough for how much they talked about the house being haunted. The house was this, house was that.
They did a good job showing Alicia's bedroom. That part where they go into her bedroom shows like the magnificence of it, and the rest of it just looks like it could have been a set.
Exactly. So one thing
was
somebody...
it a set?
I imagine most of it's sets. Yeah. So somebody asked me, they go like, oh, another movie updated for modern audiences. I said, no, this movie's not woke. It's not, as much as I hate that term, it's not politically correct. It's just a movie. There was nothing like that in this film. Because somebody pointed out that they shoehorned a like lesbian relationship into Death on the Nile that was never in the books. And people were just like, oh, why is that in there? It's clearly done because Hollywood has an agenda to do that. There's none of that. There's no political correctness or even anything ultimately offensive about this movie.
But also nothing memorable.
Yeah. It's a
very safe movie. The
score was unbelievably uninspired and average. There was some good.
It probably didn't help that Next Door, The Nun 2 was... It was just constant
just a screaming movie. I thought somebody was shooting up the theater for a minute.
Yeah. Screaming the entire time, which is like, what kind of horror movie just has like jump scares literally the entire movie?
Yeah, it was a bloody murder. It sounded like a torture
in the
scene.
Background while we're trying to like enjoy the quiet scenes.
Yeah, they're like having like a whispering moment where they're trying to listen to like a little girl in the background that like singing that's running through the house.
Yeah.
And just next door is just constant screaming.
Yeah. But yeah, so like Tina Fey was inoffensive, but not all that impressive in her role. I thought she was gonna try to swing for the fences. She was fine.
The little boy that played Leopold was good, and I didn't really understand by the end if he's supposed to be like, did he actually love his father, or was he just a sociopath? Because he doesn't really seem to be.
He's the most mature 10-year-old boy ever. Yeah,
he didn't seem to be torn up at all, really, about his dad.
He was, I think he was just emotionally distant.
Just push those feelings deep down. He'll be fine.
He's stoic. He's going to grow up to be one of the stoics, right?
Just keep shoving them down.
I would have, the actress who played Rowena was great. She's Beth Dutton from Yellowstone. But she has a very, very magnetic face that I thought worked really, really well.
I think that... Okay, what time period is this supposed to be in?
The 1940s.
1945, like just after the war.
I don't know if I'm like taking a wrong guess here, but they've got to stop casting people with very obvious face injections and lip injections in historical period pieces, because her upper lip was just distracting me to no end.
Michelle,
she like doesn't have a Cupid's bow, and then the rest of it is like I don't know. It's like shaped like an 8.
I thought that the guy who played Maxime, the ex-boyfriend, I thought he did great. I thought he was good. Also, the guy who plays his bodyguard, who was the bad guy in John Wick 2, I enjoyed him and Tina Fey together.
What about
and Jamie Dornan as Leopold's dad?
What about Michelle Yeoh?
I would like to see more of her. I wish they hadn't. I wish they hadn't turned her into the plot device that they turned her into at that point in the movie. I thought they could have done more with her character. The other thing is like one of the plot points of this, and guys, since I haven't given an update in this movie, it's just after the war. It's after World War II, right? And in this, basically, Hercule Poirot is retired. And he's lost his confidence. He's lost his vigor for solving crimes as the world's greatest detective. And Tina Fey, who was the authoress, is it Ariadne? Arian? How did you pronounce her name? Like
Wait,
it's
what?
her. They called her the authoress, but the character's name is Ariadne, which is not a name I've ever heard before. But she's the author who made Hercule Poirot into a folk hero in his younger years through her mystery novels. She comes to get him out of his rut by taking him to this seance to solve a
murder mystery. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, she takes him there to prove that the seance is a hoax, right? But instead, she set it up to try and trick him so that she can be returned to her former glory because her books are no longer selling well. And I feel like they missed an opportunity to make her into more of a villain than just like an uber capitalist who's just there to like take him down for the sake of her own benefit. And also, I don't feel like one of the things that they did is at the beginning of the movie, when Poirot leaves his home, he's being chased by the guy. He's being followed by the guy who wants him to work on his case. It's supposed to show you that he's like lost faith in his profession, that he doesn't really have any interest to do what he was so good at before. And at the end of the movie, after he solves this case, this idea is that he's been restored. Suddenly his confidence is back. His desire to solve crimes is back. I don't feel like they actually showed enough of his self-doubt to make that plot actually feel like it paid off.
Yeah, in the beginning, it just felt like he was on permanent vacation.
Yeah.
He was perfectly at peace with his life.
I would have liked to, even though I did like the actress, Kelly Riley, who played Rowena Drake, I think they missed an opportunity to cast Gillian Anderson in that role. I think she would have been perfect for that role, especially given her character in the last season of Hannibal. And then also there was some good work done with some disorienting camera angles, close-ups of people's faces and stuff like that to keep you on edge, to keep you kind of emotionally off kilter.
There's a couple like upside down camera things, where, like walk people. Yeah. I thought it was kind of cool.
But also it was basically they were doing like wide angle lenses close up above a person's head. That were done really, really well to disorient you from the situation. But the one thing it was missing with the house is I felt like it lacked a sense of geography. Now, what I would have liked, because so much about stories like this where he has to solve a crime has to do with where people were at a specific time in a specific room because of the time the crime happens, right? Without a strong sense of geography of how the building is laid out, it's harder for you to kind of figure out in your mind as he's telling you how things happened. Like, I feel like a better sense of geography of the building would have made his explanation at the end, which is the whole reason you go to a movie about Poirot nowadays, is for the great payoff where he explains everything to everyone, where he breaks down the crime and explains who did what when. Right? If I had a better mental image of the house, I feel like him explaining, you were in this room at this time, you were in this room at this time. I would also like it if they could find a way when they do these stories, and they made the same mistake in Glass Onion, where I don't want to have to see the flashbacks.
Yeah.
They have to. I understand that it's a trope of the, genre.
The flashbacks?
I understand that it's a trope of the genre, but I feel like a lot of times it used to be done where it's done to supplement the story. Now it's done because they don't make it memorable enough for you to remember what happened. Mm-hmm. So
the whole flashback to Maxime tasting the honey and being like, I can't place it.
Yeah.
Like, I got it.
Yeah,
I got that.
Thank
you.
This guy eats so much honey. He
That
knows
he knows
whether
that.
it comes
Yeah,
from
like,
a wildflower or
is
not.
he
I was
some
like,
kind
how
of honey
much
expert
honey
now?
are these people eating?
And I will say that, look, this is the third of the Kenneth Branagh, Agatha Christie adaptations. They've all been kind of like, what was your description earlier? They're aggressively average, right? They're very, very predictable. They don't take a lot of risks. I don't think this movie's going to make a whole ton of money. I think the fact that it's coming out, it advertised itself as like quasi horror while not being horror. And a weekend when The Nun 2 is coming out means
That's
it's not going
idea,
to it's not going to make any money. And I think that this series stops here. I don't think they end up making any beyond this. I was honestly surprised that they made a third one, considering Death on the Nile, I think, won its opening weekend when it came out, but very quickly was forgotten by everyone because it made the mistake of... okay, so that movie was made in 2019, and unfortunately, because of COVID, it got delayed. Well, what happened when COVID got delayed? All the Armie Hammer stuff came out.
Yes.
And Armie Hammer was like the focus of the movie.
They had an Amber Heard on their hands.
Yeah, they had to re-edit the trailer, get rid of as much of Armie Hammer as possible. Suddenly a guy who would be like second or third billing, like it might have been like Kenneth Branagh, Gal Gadot, and then Armie Hammer right in like your top three main credits, then maybe Emma Mackey, all these other stars. He's like thrown in at the bottom with like half the text size as everyone else because they don't want to be associated with the cannibal who, spoiler alert, ends up being the killer at the end of Death on the Nile. So they take their big star and they end up losing out on it. I think this franchise has, in fact, lost its luster, if it in fact ever had any to begin with. Murder on the Orient Express was good. The other two, not so much. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.